In the heart of the vibrant city of Manila, I, Tony, a 30-year-old bachelor, live my life. I'm not your average Joe. I'm a man of principles, a man of integrity. My jet black hair, chiseled jawline, and deep-set eyes have been the subject of many a woman's admiration, but it's my unwavering principles that truly define me. I work as a chauffeur, but not just for anyone. I drive for Mr. Rodriguez, a wealthman known for his vast business empire. He's a stern man, but he respects me, admires my dedication, and trusts me. To him, I'm not just an employee, I'm a confidant, a trusted ally in a world where trust is a rare commodity. My life wasn't always this way. I was born into a humble family in the outskirts of the city. My father was a mechanic, and my mother, a seamstress. We lived a simple life, but it was a happy one. However, life took a turn when my mother fell ill. The medical bills started piling up, and as the only son, I took it upon myself to provide for my family. That's when I decided to move to the city and take up the job as a chauffeur. The job was demanding, the hours were long, but the pay was good. It was enough to cover my mother's medical expenses and still have some left for my personal needs. I was content. I had a roof over my head, food on my table, and most importantly, I was able to take care of my mother. Despite the hardships, I always wear a smile on my face. I'm a beacon of positivity, always looking at the bright side of things. I believe in the power of kindness and always treat everyone with respect, regardless of their status. My principles are my guiding light, and I never let the harsh realities of life dim my spirit. Over a year have passed since I started working as a chauffeur for Mr. Rodriguez. During this time, I've become privy to the secrets that lie within the walls of the Rodriguez mansion. It's like living in a telenovela, with each day bringing a new twist. Mr. Rodriguez's daughter, Isabella, is a spoiled princess. She's used to getting everything she wants, and she doesn't take no for an answer. She's a whirlwind of energy, always flitting from one thing to another, leaving a trail of chaos in her wake. But beneath her spoiled exterior, I see a young woman yearning for her father's approval, trying to find her place in the world. Then there's Mrs. Rodriguez, a woman of extravagant tastes. She's always dressed to the nines, dripping in diamonds and designer clothes. Sometimes, she gives me these enticing looks that make me uncomfortable, but I maintain my professionalism. I'm here to do a job, not to get involved in any family drama. Their son, Miguel, is a different story. He's haughty and arrogant, always looking down on the staff. He's the spitting image of his father, but without the warmth and respect that Mr. Rodriguez commands. I try to steer clear of him as much as possible, but it's not always easy. The most surprising secret, however, involves the maid and the cook. Maria, the maid, and Enrico, the cook, have been having a secret affair. They think no one knows, but I've caught them stealing glances at each other, sharing secret smiles. It's a sweet, innocent love, a stark contrast to the drama that usually unfolds in the mansion. Life as a chauffeur in the Rodriguez mansion is never dull. It's a roller coaster of emotions, a kaleidoscope of human behavior. But through it all, I remain steadfast, guided by my principles. I'm here to do a job, to provide for my family. and no amount of drama or secrets can deter me from my path. One sunny day, as I was preparing for another day of chauffeuring duties, Mr. Rodrigo approached me with an unexpected request. He asked if I could accompany him to the mall to help him choose an expensive suit. I was taken aback by his invitation, but I gladly agreed, eager to assist him in any way I could. We arrived at the upscale mall, stepping into a world of luxury and elegance. As we made our way through the designer boutiques, Mr. Rodrigo's discerning eye carefully examined each suit, searching for the perfect one. It was a fascinating experience for me, witnessing his impeccable taste and attention to detail. After much deliberation, Mr. Rodriguez finally found the suit that spoke to him. It was a masterpiece, exuding sophistication and refinement. But to my surprise, he didn't stop there. He turned to me with a smile and said, "Tony, I want you to have a suit as well. We have a party at my house next week to celebrate Isabella's birthday, and I want you to join us." I was stunned by his generosity and kindness. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine being included in such an extravagant event. With gratitude in my heart, I thanked Mr. Rodriguez profusely, feeling a mixture of excitement and anticipation for the upcoming celebration. In the days leading up to the party, I eagerly prepared for the event. The suit, hanging in my closet, seemed to radiate a sense of elegance and possibility. I meticulously planned every detail, from the choice of accessories to the perfect hairstyle. I wanted to make a lasting impression. The night of the party finally arrived, and as I slipped into the suit, I couldn't help but feel transformed. The fabric embraced me, exuding confidence and style. In the mirror, I caught a glimpse of a version of myself that I had never seen before. As I entered the Rodriguez residence, I was greeted by a symphony of laughter and music. The atmosphere was electric, filled with the warmth of friendship and celebration. The gardens, adorned with twinkling lights, created a magical backdrop for the festivities. As the night progressed, the party took on a life of its own. The music filled the air, and the dance floor became a vibrant stage for revelry and celebration. Glasses clinked, laughter echoed, and the energy in the room was infectious. Amidst the dancing and merriment, I couldn't help but notice the effects of the flowing drinks on some of the women in attendance. Their inhibitions loosened, and their eyes seemed to sparkle with mischief. It was as if they were drawn to me, captivated by my handsome looks and the elegant suit that Mr. Rodriguez had gifted me. One by one, these tipsy women approached me, their smiles filled with a mix of admiration and desire. They complimented my appearance, telling me how gorgeous I looked. Some even went as far as to flirt with me, their playful touches lingering a little longer than necessary. I found myself being pulled into the dance floor, swaying to the rhythm of the music with these vivacious women. Their laughter and teasing banter filled the air as we moved in sync. It was an exhilarating experience, being the center of attention and feeling the magnetic pull of their attraction. To my surprise, even women in their 50s joined in the fun, their confidence and allure shining through. They showered me with compliments, telling me that I had the potential for high-paying jobs and promising connections. It was flattering, yet overwhelming, to be the object of their attention and desires. Throughout it all, I couldn't help but notice Mrs. Rodriguez, observing the scene from a distance. Her gaze was filled with a mix of amusement and perhaps a hint of jealousy. It was as if she was silently enjoying the spectacle, allowing herself to indulge in the excitement of the evening. As the night wore on, I navigated the delicate balance of politeness and restraint, politely declining any advances that crossed the line. I remained grateful for the attention, but I also knew the importance of maintaining professionalism and respecting the boundaries of the occasion. In the midst of the whirlwind of dancing and flirtation, I couldn't help but feel a sense of gratitude towards Mr. Rodriguez. He had given me the opportunity to experience a world of luxury and excitement, even if it came with its fair share of unexpected encounters. As the party continued, I found solace in the knowledge that I had stayed true to myself, navigating the attention with grace and integrity. I knew that the memories of this eventful night would stay with me, serving as a reminder of the complexities and surprises that life can bring. In the end, as the music faded and the guests bid their farewells, I left the party with a mix of exhilaration and relief. The evening had been a whirlwind of emotions, a colorful chapter in my journey as a chauffeur in the Rodriguez mansion. And as I drove away, I carried with me the lessons learned and a renewed appreciation for the unpredictable nature of life's adventures. Months had passed since that memorable celebration. One beautiful morning, as I was behind the wheel, driving Mr. Rodriguez to his office, the sun rose gracefully, painting the city streets with a warm and inviting glow. As we embarked on our journey, we engaged in light-hearted conversation, discussing the day ahead and the tasks that awaited us. Upon reaching his office building, I skillfully parked the car and graciously accompanied him to the entrance. Mr. Rodriguez handed me a bag filled with documents, instructing me to deliver it to his office. He emphasized the importance of its contents and the need for utmost care. I nodded, assuring him that I would handle it with the utmost responsibility. Entering the building, I made my way to Mr. Rodriguez's office. The bustling atmosphere filled the air as employees hurried about their daily routines. I greeted familiar faces along the way, maintaining a friendly and professional demeanor. Once inside Mr. Rodriguez's office, I carefully placed the bag on his desk, ensuring its safety. He thanked me for my assistance and then dropped a surprising request. He informed me that he had called his wife, who was at home, to retrieve an important folder that he had forgotten. He asked me to return to the house and collect it. I nodded, ready to fulfill the task at hand. It was not unusual for me to run errands for Mr. Rodriguez, as I had become a trusted confidant and assistant over the years. He provided me with the necessary instructions and reassured me that his wife would be waiting for me. With a sense of purpose, I left Mr. Rodriguez's office and made my way back to the car. The drive back to the house was filled with anticipation. I wondered what important documents lay within the folder and the impact they would have on Mr. Rodriguez's work. Arriving at the house, I parked the car and made my way to the front door. As I entered, I could hear Mrs. Rodriguez's voice echoing through the hallways. She called me to her room, informing me that the folder was ready for collection. The moment I stepped into Mrs. Rodriguez's opulent room, I could feel a shift in the atmosphere. The space was bathed in a seductive dim light, casting enchanting shadows across the walls. Mrs. Rodriguez was standing by the window, her silhouette barely visible through her almost see-through dress. With a sultry smile, she turned towards me, beckoning me closer with a voice that oozed allure. "Tony, please come in." Her voice, like velvet, wrapped around my senses as she continued, "Tony, my dear, do you ever find yourself yearning for her? Longing for the touch, the presence of your beloved girlfriend?" Her question hung in the air, laced with a tantalizing mix of curiosity and desire. I couldn't help but feel a surge of emotions, as if she tried to unlock a hidden chamber within my heart. The question caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting to delve into my personal life, especially not with Mrs. Rodriguez. Her eyes searched mine, as if trying to read my thoughts. "You see her in your dreams, don't you? That longing look in your eyes gives it away," she continued, her words creating a warm yet unsettling atmosphere. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. Mrs. Rodriguez was known for her boldness, but this was something else. It felt like she was trying to pull me into a world of her own, a world where boundaries blurred and emotions ran high. "Tony, my dear," she continued, her voice dropping to a whisper. "You can't hide your feelings from me. I can see it in your eyes, the way you miss her. It's okay to admit it, you know." Her words hung in the air, creating a tension that was hard to ignore. I was surprised, yes, but also intrigued. Mrs. Rodriguez had a way of making you question everything, and this time, she had me questioning my own feelings. She moved closer, her fingers lightly brushing against my chest and face. I could feel my skin burning under her touch. "Tony," she said, her voice barely a whisper, "I'm rich. I can buy anything I want in this world, but I'm lonely." Her words hung heavily in the air, and I could feel my throat tightening. She told me about Mr. Rodriguez, about how he no longer made her happy. My mind was racing, trying to process everything. As she moved to close the door behind me, she asked me to understand her, a woman like her. I could feel my heart pounding even harder. I was caught in a whirlwind of emotions. I wanted to resist, to tell her that what she was doing wasn't right. But I also didn't want to offend her. I was torn between my morals and the fear of losing my job. She tried to bribe me, promising me anything I wanted. But I knew I couldn't give in. As I stood there, listening to Mrs. Rodriguez's confession, a sense of pity washed over me. Here was a woman who seemingly had everything money could buy, yet she was profoundly lonely. She unveiled her deep-seated unhappiness, her loveless marriage with Mr. Rodriguez. She spoke of his impotence, of her yearning for love and affection. Her desperation was evident in her eyes, a longing for something money couldn't buy. She wasn't just a rich woman seeking a fling. She was a woman starved of love and companionship. She had everything, and yet, she had nothing. The conflict within me was intense. I felt sympathy for her, yet I knew what she was asking of me was wrong. She was ready to offer me anything, everything, if only I would stay. But I couldn't. I couldn't let myself be swayed by her promises. Then came her plea, a desperate attempt to convince me to lie with her, to give her the love she so desperately sought. The intensity in her eyes was hard to ignore, but I knew I had to stand my ground. As I walked away, I felt a wave of sadness for Mrs. Rodriguez. She had let her loneliness and desperation cloud her judgment. She had tried to buy love, to fill the void in her life with material possessions. but I knew, deep down, that love couldn't be bought. It had to be earned, to be nurtured. In the silence of the room, I felt a strange sense of loss. But amidst the sadness, there was also a sense of relief. I had made the right choice. I had resisted temptation and stood up for what I believed in. I walked away with my integrity intact, knowing that I had done the right thing. As I stepped out of Mrs. Rodriguez's room, a rush of anxiety washed over me. To my surprise, Maria and Enrico, two of my colleagues, were standing nearby, their eyes widening in disbelief at the sight of me exiting Mrs. Rodriguez's room. I could feel their questioning gazes piercing through me, for I had only just realized that my upper shirt had become unbuttoned during the encounter with Mrs. Rodriguez. Panic surged within me as I grappled with the implications of this unintended reveal, and I worried about what they might think. My mind raced, trying to come up with a plausible explanation for why I had been in that room. I knew I couldn't reveal the true nature of the encounter, as it would only lead to further speculation and gossip. I had to think quickly to protect both Mrs. Rodriguez's reputation and my own. With a forced smile, I casually waved at Maria and Enrico, hoping to deflect their curiosity. "I just had a quick meeting with Mrs. Rodriguez about some documents," I said, trying to sound nonchalant. Nothing out of the ordinary. But deep down, I knew that my explanation was far from convincing. Each step I took towards Mr. Rodriguez's office seemed to grow heavier, as if the weight of the entire situation rested upon my shoulders. The air inside his office was thick with tension, and his piercing gaze locked onto mine, conveying a sense of anticipation and scrutiny. With a slight tremor in my hand, I extended the stack of documents towards him, silently acknowledging the gravity of the task at hand. As Mr. Rodriguez's eyes scanned the papers, his expression remained inscrutable. The silence stretched between us, until finally, he broke it with a voice that carried a mix of curiosity and concern. "Tony, what took you so long? I expected these documents hours ago." His question hung in the air, and I could feel the weight of his expectations pressing upon me. It was as if time itself had slowed down, magnifying every second as I searched for the right words to explain the unforeseen obstacles that had delayed my progress. With a deep breath, I gathered my thoughts and spoke with a blend of earnestness and determination. "Mr. Rodriguez, I apologize for the delay. There were unforeseen circumstances that required my immediate attention. However, I assure you that I have worked diligently to ensure the accuracy and completeness of these documents." As my words settled, the room seemed to hold its breath, awaiting Mr. Rodriguez's response. The silence in the room was suffocating, and I could feel beads of sweat forming on my forehead. The drama of the encounter with Mrs. Rodriguez still lingered in my mind, clouding my thoughts. I wondered if Mr. Rodriguez had any inkling of what had transpired, if he could see the turmoil within me. The outcome of this encounter would undoubtedly shape the course of events, and I could only hope that my explanation would be met with understanding and a measure of leniency. Months had passed since the moment that incident with Mrs. Rodriguez happened. I could feel a shift in the atmosphere of the Rodriguez mansion. I noticed a frostiness in Mr. Rodriguez's interactions with me, a stark contrast to his previously warm demeanor. Mrs. Rodriguez, who used to treat me kindly, started to scold me at the smallest of errors, her voice sharp and filled with disdain. The mansion, which used to be a place of warmth and camaraderie, became cold and distant. Even Enrico, the cook, and Maria, the maid, with whom I used to share laughter and stories, started to behave differently around me. I could hear them whispering about me to others in the mansion, their voices low and filled with speculation. I felt a profound sense of loneliness and misunderstanding. I knew in my heart that I hadn't done anything to deserve this treatment. Yet, it seemed like I had become a constant disappointment in their eyes. The mansion, which once felt like a second home, had turned into a place of tension and discomfort. With a heavy heart, I started to consider leaving the Rodriguez mansion. I yearned for a place where I could work in peace, free from judgment and suspicion. After much thought, I decided to resign from my position as Mr. Rodriguez chauffeur. It was a difficult decision, but one that I felt was necessary for my peace of mind. I left the mansion, hoping to find a place where I could be treated with the respect and fairness that I deserved. I remember the day I decided to speak to Mr. Rodriguez about my decision to resign. It was a sunny afternoon, the golden rays of the sun seeping through the grand windows of the mansion, casting long, dramatic shadows across the room. "Mr. Rodriguez," I began, my voice steady despite the pounding of my heart. "I wanted to talk to you about something important." He looked at me, his eyes filled with curiosity and a hint of concern. I took a deep breath, gathering my thoughts. "I have decided to resign from my position as your chauffeur," I said, my words hanging in the air like a heavy cloud. His eyebrows furrowed, a look of surprise crossing his face. "I want to thank you for all the kindness and goodness you've shown me during my time here," I continued, my voice filled with genuine gratitude. "You treated me like family, and for that, I am forever grateful." I paused, my gaze meeting his. "For years, I have served you loyally, truthfully, and with all the trustworthiness I could muster," I said, my words echoing in the silent room. "I have always strived to do my best, to be a reliable presence in your life." I could see the surprise in his eyes slowly fading, replaced by a look of understanding. "But I believe it's time for me to move on," I added, my voice barely above a whisper. "I hope you understand." As I left the room, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. I had said what I needed to say. I had expressed my gratitude, stated my truth, and now, it was time to move on to the next chapter of my life.
Thank you. If you found this content educational and enjoyable, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more videos, stories, and narratives.